Hey guys, Beachhead here. Today I'm going to show you how to make a ring like this. It's more of a masculine ring made out of a knife, and it's really stress relieving because you get to beat the crap out of things. So come along for this journey. It's going to be a relatively short journey, but it's going to be very stress relieving, so come with it. Okay, so the first thing you will need is a knife, and here I have it's an exact copy of the knife I used to make this one, so it's quite interesting actually. When you start beating it, it flattens out and makes it a little bit wider. So that's something to think of when you're selecting a knife. The next thing you'll need is a size, and the guy I'm making for this just happens to be an 11. So once you have the size, you measure it. And this is roughly, I think I measured when I could see better, 2.15 centimeters. So my goal is a size 11. Or a 251 centimeter. And we're going to multiply this by pi to find out the inner circumference here, which will give us how long to cut this. And using magic, 2.51 times pi just happens to give us 6.75, or roughly, centimeters. So that's about how long I need to cut this to get to where it goes around in a complete circle. However, with these rings and when you beat it and stuff like that, the metal gets deformed, as you can see here, so you're not going to get a perfect circle. So you want to cut just a little bit more than 6.75. I would say maybe even just cutting it at 7 even. So not sure what I did the first time, but 2.51 times pi does not equal that. It equals 7.88 centimeters. I'm going to add maybe a 2% error because, like I said, as you start beating it's going to make it irregular and it's going to be a little bit harder to bend. So that's adding 1.5 centimeters to it, which gives me about an 803, something like that. So after you've done the math, now is the time you get to relieve some stress and just beat the living snot out of this doohickey guy, which is the fun part. Okay, once you've done your boring measurements, now's the time to get a little bit interesting and stress relieving. You're going to take a 3-pound hammer. I would advise wearing a glove in your other hand because a lot of shock is transferred through this to your hand. Also, ear protection is advised as well because it gets pretty noisy. So, you just beat away. And this is when you can be a little bit artistic in the way you beat things. Here, I purposely hit it in places so that it would give it some texture and artistic style. So this is purely up to you on how you want to make yours look. See how that created a nice dimple there? Kind of like that. However, I'm going to try to flatten it down just a little bit. I don't want it too wide. And then you just keep doing that until you've reached a point in which you're satisfied with how it looks. Okay, so once you've gotten your fix with beating it with a hammer on the anvil / vise, the next step is to bend it using the same method I used with my other rings, which is to take a chain link and clamp that into the vise, then use that as a leverage point. But before we do that, you have to mark out your measurement here. And so it's going to be a little bit tricky because the metal's deformed. But I think I said, yeah, 8.03. That's going to be right around there. Let's make sure about that. Nope. Right there. Okay. I'll put a check there. And that's just going to be a rough estimate on where to cut it once I've completed bending it. Okay, so again, you're just going to take a chain link here that I've kind of compressed a little bit. Like here's the actual normal size, but I hit this a couple of times with a 3-pound hammer, and that helped it a lot. So now we're going to take our knife and do the same method as all the times before. Just to bend it like so. Being careful you don't make any kinks in the metal. Just continue around until you get into a circle. And if you want to as well, you can go to where your line is and then do it from there. To help you make sure you bend in the right shape. Okay, then once you have bent it to roughly a circle shape, you're going to take your Dremel tool and cut it. Okay, after you've cut your metal, you're going to file down your sharp edges. And because you use the 3-pound hammer to beat it, there's going to be quite a bit of sharp edges on these sides as well. So if you have a file like this, where it's a semicircle, it'll be a little bit easier than if you have a square file. But right now I'm just going to show you this. Okay, once you've filed down all your sharp edges, time to get back on the mandrel, and you're gonna try to get it down a few sizes. And here we're using the 3-pound hammer because we don't really care what it looks like. The more rugged it looks, the better. So here you can see I creased that. You don't want to do that. So surprisingly, this ring is going to be too big, which is very inconvenient since it's already bent down a lot. It's going to be hard to get it down 2 sizes. My goal is here, and it's like a 13 or 14. It's probably a 13 when I get the 2 sides attached. Okay. That's inconvenient. Okay, so this ring is too big because it's size 13 and I want to make it 11. So I'm going to have to cut it, which is really inconvenient because that's going to make filing a really just horrible. Because it's not giving me a lot of room for these files. So I'm going to take 1/2 centimeter off, and hopefully that'll be good enough. Okay, so I got it down to an 11, and my 1/2 centimeter cut was just about perfect. If I would have gone with my instincts and or initial instincts and cut about a 1 centimeter, it probably would have cut too much, and it would turn like this where it's not quite touching. So next step is another fun part, which is getting to light it on fire. Okay, now the fun part where you get to burn it. So this poor guy has been beaten to death, and now he's going to be burnt to death. And here you don't have to worry about getting it too cold or too hot, because the point of this is to A, harden the metal, and you'll see how I do that in a little bit, and B, to just make it darker and make it a little bit more rustic. I think I'm starting to run out of propane here, but you should still get the idea. You see something cool? Oh yeah! Fire! Normally it doesn't take this long to get it orange, but so I'm not sure why. taking so long. It could be because I'm running out of propane. It's not quite as hot as it was. This should be hot enough for what I wanted to do. So, just gonna take your pliers here, grab it, and we're gonna stick it in some water. And that way it will harden the metal. It's amazing how quickly metal cools down. There you go. It's a lot darker than what it was. So now what you're going to do is finish filing down the rest of your sharp edges, and then repeat that step if you want. If you don't, you'll have like little light spots here, which kind of looks cool, but it's your choice. Okay, so here is the semi-finished product. I finished filing the edges here, and so it's been burnt once. And so you can see filing the edges and leaving it that way gives it some contrast. However, I think I'm going to go ahead and burn it again, because who does not like blowtorching metal and watching it rise up to 600 some degrees. So here's the final product. This has been heat treated twice. It's been filed down. There's actually more sharp edges that I should probably touch up. But as time goes on, that darkness will fade a little bit and it'll start to look like this one on the right. And there you go. That is how to make a knife ring using a butter knife and turning it into a masculine ring. Thanks for watching. This is Beachhead, out. Here, it's hot enough to make my gloves steam. Watch that.